All right, welcome. This is the Bitcoin Design Guide Jam session number 54. We are joined today by this lovely white tiger here guarding the jelly. It's supposed to be strawberry jelly, but Midjourney didn't quite pick that up in the right way. But the tiger looks pretty cool. So, as usual, we go over ongoing work on the guide, and I prepared a document that I will share with everyone. With There's nothing super important in here really, but we can take notes. And why don't we do the usual? What topic? What do you have? What would you like to talk about? We'll just put it in here, and then we can also go over the usual roadmap, open pull requests, issues. What is on the radar? Nothing on the radar. Hey, Eddie.
Hey, Eddie.
Okay.
We're just listening to each other. Yeah.
So good. We can just get going, I think, and you can just chime in when there's something important. So, like last time, I closed the milestone 19 because there was one issue in there that's basic. Well, we wrapped up the send fees issue that's live, and the other one in there, no one's working on it, and then we just kicked it out. So we're working milestone less now. Everyone just gotta work on their stuff, and we can keep each other honest if we're starting to slack or whatever. Then we have two pull requests. Michael's, yours is probably the biggest one there,
Probably.
which is complex spending conditions. And you made good progress, right?
Yeah, it was pretty nice to actually, the first thing that I actually added to to the guide. So that feels pretty good. And over the weekend, I asked Rob Hamilton from Anchor Watch. They created the Trident Vault or Trident wallet that uses Miniscript to insure Bitcoin. So I asked him, and I met him in Riga. I had already a call with him and his co-founder before that. So I asked him if he could kind of, from a technical perspective, fact check some of or the document, the PR. And basically within 24 hours he gave me feedback on it. So that's already now I pushed the commit just before lunch. That already incorporates these things. It's mainly a distinction between relative and absolute time locks that I didn't get quite right technically. So that was very helpful. But other than that, I think it's probably good to go. And I have, for some reason now after lunch, I again have these Jekyll serve problems. I don't know. I thought I solved it on Friday and now it's back. I don't know what it is. That sucks.
Okay,
Michael,
real quick, everyone. Oh, go ahead, Mo.
No, Michael, please don't worry about any HTML GitHub issues you have. I have been down that journey 100 times, and Christoph has been super helpful. So you are good. You will be good always.
Yeah, it just takes time.
Yeah. So real quick, what are complex spending conditions? What's this page about? Without cheating. Anyone want to answer? No, it's fine. But it's a complex topic to have all these complex recovery paths and your multi-sig changing and how many keys are needed to transact and stuff, and tons of implications for UIs. So I looked at the PR. I think it's in really good shape. Michael, is it ready for everyone to review, or would you rather do one more 2 rounds of kind of get the super technical expert eyes on there before you open it up?
No, I think now it's probably good to be reviewed. I'd say. I mean, we have done a number of iterations amongst ourselves, and um, yeah, so maybe a better header image, but I was wrestling with Midjourney for about an hour and a half, and then I gave up. So that's that might be that might be something to improve. And honestly, I think probably this is something that is kind of a first release, and as I kind of embark further on the inheritance journey, there will be other things that come up um, that I can use to improve this. So I'd say it's for now. It's I think good to be reviewed.
Yeah. And yeah, and it looks really good. All the markdown, everything too. And I guess when reviewing, one good thing to keep in mind is that this is a how it works page. It explains the not in super technical detail, but the mechanics of how this stuff works. And then there will be a follow up with a UI best practices, and that will be more screens and examples.
Exactly, the reference designs, and maybe even more than one use case, rather than one thing to kind of catch it all in the reference design. Might make sense to kind of split that apart. And concerning the title custom spending conditions, I think it's still very technical, but yeah, the only thing that I could come up with is programmable key sets, which might be um, also helpful, but that's what the review is for, to maybe get some additional brain cells on it, and suggest maybe better designations.
And Michael, is there any particular way you'd like us to like review it, or any section you'd like more eyes on, or anything like that?
Um, well, the I think the main objective would be to see if it is actually understandable. I mean, if it's uh, easy enough to understand, especially the section about UTXOs. I use a lot of in the I think the relative time log section. There's a lot of talk about UTXOs, because that's the basically the main object of a time log, and that's something that probably end users won't be familiar with, and it will be counterintuitive, some of these things. That's why I try to call it out with that info block there. So also the wording, I think, is, yeah, it's a how it works page. So if you design a product that uses miniscript, it's a bit natural that it is more complex, maybe. But these are, yeah, kind of the language there. Um, I used UTXO because that's the standard, and I think probably not a good. It's not a good idea to start creating new terminology here, but in the reference designs and in the UIs, it probably might make sense to think about um, uh, more friendly terminology. So language and understandability, I would say, and whether there is something that we can leave out or that is not relevant, because it's a rather long page, long chapter, and yeah, any structural feedback would be nice.
Yep. I do think the screen mockups will really help communicate this more clearly. Like you can just show a transaction that says spendable in 2 weeks, and the one transaction below it says spendable in 3 weeks. Then you're like, oh, okay, get it. I received these
Yeah,
here, and I can spend them there.
I was also thinking about that. Maybe once I'm a bit further with the reference screens, I can use them as the header image to kind of already, when you come to the page, that you see what it could be about. And so once the reference designs get further along, then maybe add additional visuals to this page as well.
We could also do a reading session sometime. Everyone gets together, we just read through it. Could also be helpful. Or a learning Bitcoin and design call. I feel like this lends itself pretty well to it. Could both be part of reviewing this page.
Yep.
Cool. Anything else on this page?
Don't think so for
Okay.
now.
One thing that we always forget, not some always, but sometimes, is checking the rest of the guide to look for cross-linking opportunities. There might be some places where there are just perfect occasions to say to link here and says, oh, there are also these other opportunities to do backup paths in case this and that doesn't work out or so. Could be we have this whole backup section. I don't know. Could be different places, but that way the whole thing just kind of becomes intertwined and people can hop from one thing to the next and find unexpected, new, exciting things.
Yeah, I tried to do some of that, and probably I didn't catch all the things, but or at least where I saw something, I tried to link to the respective section or page in the guide to kind of let people go through that.
Awesome, super cool. All right, anything else on this PR?
I'll just say congratulations. It looks really nice. It's nice to see new content and new, fairly advanced content making its way into the guide. Good work.
Thanks a lot.
Okay, next. Yeah, there's some small stuff here, I guess. I created a small because I was just I had a little bit of time Friday afternoon. I was just trying to pick up some smaller PRs. There's one just for adding the UX research toolkit to the project page because we don't have that. It's not linked to anywhere. Keeping it a secret. But now it's no longer a secret. And I think this is a really small PR. I think a good one would also be to then follow it up by here in the conducting research section, in the getting to know your user sections, potentially user personas. There are a bunch of pages where it might be just appropriate where we say, I don't know if the UX research kit has something about personas, but if we have a page about it, it could say, well, now do your own. Check out the UX research kit. So just cross-link all of these things together.
I have it on my to-do to cross-link. It's definitely on my to-do list because I think we brought it up. I think we raised an issue or something about it a while back.
Yeah, that is one. I just wanted to kick it off with this project page edition.
Yeah,
I can also chip in with it a little bit if you'd like.
Thank you.
Let me see. Mo, you're working on Wallet Scrutiny case study?
Yeah, I can give a very quick update. I'll just share screen very quickly here. I don't know if this is going to be visible to here. So I'll share this one here. I started working on this really very loosely today, just before the call. So what we have is we pretty much had this document which kicked off on the 3rd of August, and I pretty much dove into it again today. So pretty much the Wallet Scrutiny case study we have, is this tab visible?
Yep.
We have an entire GitHub repository, GitHub collaboration document, which outlines everything of what was done and how this was done. So it's pretty much just pulling all of that information into this document and making it readable and understandable. So I kept things very loose. Things are really loose at the moment. I'm just telling a story. I remember what we did in the beginning. We ideated on a plan. We created a UX plan. We had a Google document for that. Then we looked at the current user experience, and then we did research. But those are like the 3 biggest buckets. So I'm pretty much my goal is to really just add more meat to this between today and the end of this week, and then have a Google document at the end of the week that I'd love you guys to read through and then just provide any input. So yeah, that's pretty much where it is. We just have a Google document at the moment, which is very, very, very loose. So
And
yeah,
you have your contributors chipping in?
no,
You need to reactivate them, maybe.
yeah, that would be very good. Yeah, definitely need to reactivate. There is Dami and Shalom who started working on this here, started asking questions, and then yeah, would be great to have them to continue to work on it. So yeah, I'll definitely ping them as well. Yeah. So yeah, that's pretty much that, and that's my goal end of this week, to have something in place that's more shareable and tells a bit of a story.
Yep. And
So
it turns out, interestingly, Wallet Scrutiny is continuing. Teams expanding a little bit. There's a PM now. And one of the ideas now is to create better onboarding documentation for contributors, both technical and content and community, but also design. So this wallet scrutiny case study will actually double as to give new designers coming into the project a bit of background of why things are the way they are, where the design files are, what things look like, and all of that. Should be pretty handy that way. Cool. I can do a quick thing. I'm working on this multi wallet. There are two issues. One older one from Bosch, which was about introducing the concept of accounts, which can mean a ton of different things. And then another one from Sahil, I think, which is about archiving wallets. So you switch to a different wallet, but then you still want to keep an eye on the old one in case another transaction comes in or something like that. So I'm just working on this multi-wallet management document, just trying to outline why an application might want to do it, what the different use cases are, what kind of requirements you can derive from these use cases. Like, let's say you have one wallet that is on chain, and one you have your view-only wallet for your cold storage, but you also have a Lightning wallet and a Cashew one and a Fedi one, and I don't know, whatever. And it can get, if we consider this an open concept that can apply to many different types of wallets, then we can get pretty intricate. But I feel like it needs to be pared down, because I mean, you're not going to have a Lightning wallet with three different accounts running three different nodes and channel states and all of this stuff in the same application. I feel like there's some natural limits there. So I kind of listed out a bunch of stuff, took some notes, but then also trying to figure out what this could be like in design. So let's say on your home screen, how do you switch wallets? It's like you could have the selector here, and then you got a little modal that slides up, and you switch back and forth. Maybe you have this list. Maybe you have this type of grid. And if you have a type of grid, what do you have to show? Like which network or layer or whatever this is on. Properties, like this is multi-key. This one is view only, maybe. Name. I saw this family wallet. They let you pick an emoji and a color for each wallet, so you could get a little bit more expressive that way if you wanted to. And then, of course, you need to have it in. Let's say you have like this is where it gets a little bit tricky. Do you have a single, like, do you make the user say like you're in this wallet or you're in that wallet, and you just see stuff from the one or the other? Or do you show them a complete transaction screen, activity screen, with your total balance, and then every transaction has to indicate from which wallet it is? Um, so stuff to figure out. Same thing for settings, application. And then let's say you respond to an invoice. Do you have to pick which wallet you're going to use or not? So just trying to start a little bit, feeling out what this all touches. So yeah, I don't know. It'll be not exactly sure how this is going to pan out, especially not if you consider that. I mean, how many wallets actually do this these days? For Lightning, just doesn't seem to be a thing, unless it's just pure UI layer uh, accounts. And on chain, yeah, I think Green Wallet or so, they have something like that where you can have single sig or multi sig, but then it's never cross chain really. You have something like Blixt, but all the Lightning ones, they try to basically hide the on chain part. And then beyond that, Liquid, Cashew, Fedi, I don't know if there will ever be any crossover. So I don't know. What do you think about that? This idea of having my one application that handles 15 different layers.
Yeah, I mean, I think you would have to have the user would have to have a real need to use all of these simultaneously, which, yeah, I'm not sure whether that will ever be the case.
There is a use case for it because something that comes up was in the Bitcoin Core interviews. A lot of people said that that was one of the main reasons they used Core, because they could attach multiple wallets to it. So I do think there is a use case for that particular type of user.
Yeah, core is a bit like the engine, the node that you can power multiple different applications with.
Yeah.
And then those other applications, they don't have to worry about that core functionality. They get it for free, basically.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I don't know. I'll have to. I think that there might be some specific use cases, like an application says, "Well, you have a single sig, but you're storing too much. Well, let's upgrade you to a multi sig, like this upgradable wallet thing with progressive security that we talked about, and then maybe you archive the old one, so you don't. It's not really visible in your eye anymore, but in case another transaction still comes in, you still get a notification. So there might be some practical product directions there that might be what people want to do. But yeah, it's yeah, like I said, I find it a little bit tricky to figure out how to think about these bottom three here: Cashew, Liquid, Fedimint.
Yeah, I see the use case in using the single sig, multi sig, Lightning kind of next to each other. I think that's pretty natural. Yeah, but the cross chain thing, maybe it's just a bit too early for all these cases. Maybe in 5 years we'll naturally just move in and out of Mint, and yeah, hard to say.
Yeah, maybe parts of this page can be more for the now and the near future, and another part at the bottom of this page can be a look into the potential far future. If this happens, then this UI pattern might be helpful. Yeah. Yeah. By the way, yeah, that's this one. So I'm trying to slowly gather information on that. Would you personally want to have one wallet that does all this stuff, or would you prefer different apps?
I do like the idea. Well, I don't know if it's maybe only relation to me, but because we have the different, like I can see it with the different Lightning wallets that we're always, like using and testing out. And then there's a few sats here, a few sats there. So just having all the wallets in one place, so you have a high level overview of what you have that's scattered all over the place. I would like that, because then I don't have to go into each wallet and see. And also, like if you're at a conference, you're just like, ooh, which wallet do I have some sats in? Okay, that's something really practical. That's what we do at conferences. You want to see which wallet you have some sats in, and then you pay from that wallet. So
That seems like a Bitcoiner problem.
it is.
Yeah. No, I also personally I'd like to do something like that. I mean, Blue Wallet did that as well. It worked actually pretty nicely. As long as the kind of the segregation between, let's say, between like a vault, where exactly in that use case where I used a Lightning wallet, I don't want to accidentally leak kind of my how much money is in the vault. So kind of these types of segregations between them will be, I think, or would be important to me. But in general, it's obviously easier to just have one app that can manage at least the Bitcoin stuff.
And also, in general, in the research now that I think that comes to mind is almost every single person that we interviewed for Core, we also asked them like which Lightning wallet, which wallets do you use? So then they would mention Bitcoin and Lightning wallets. On average, your average person is using at least 3 different wallets. There's no one that I spoke to that was just like, I only use one wallet for on-chain and Lightning. Everyone has at least 3 wallets.
But these
Least that was my feeling.
you said your average person, those were average people at Bitcoin, Baltic Honey Badger, or in that
Yeah.
Bitcoin Discord forum.
Yeah,
So
but it's
those
still, we're
are
still
people
talking about like at least 300, 500 people, you know?
Okay. Yeah.
Still a fair size. So yeah.
Yeah.
Average advanced users, they have more than 3. Yeah, my personal thoughts on this is that I think we're likely to have many. If I just look at other financial apps I use, I mean, like if I take away any Bitcoin apps I have, I'd probably have at least 5 financial apps on my phone anyway. And they're all dealing, I suppose, with fiat or something. So I think it's likely to be very use case dependent, right? Whether it's, is this your main savings thing? Is this your daily driver? Is this some kind of social paying thing, P2P? So yeah, I think it's interesting to look at what could happen if you could consolidate stuff, but I'm also probably more on the side of the fence where people will have loads of different things depending on the use case.
And so one question: the family app. Oh, I'm pulling up something from Ethereum here. Unbelievable. But it's well designed, and so that's basically. So they introduced this concept of wallet groups, and so as you may know, it's up very slow. So from a single recovery phrase, you can derive multiple different wallets from that each have their own sets of addresses. So they basically say, well, you can create a new wallet with its own recovery phrase, or you can create a new wallet based on the same recovery phrase, which you already have. So it's like when it derives addresses, it just uses a different number. Like instead of 0, it uses 1, and then that's a new wallet, right? That seems like total overkill, right? It seems like this whole HD wallet account stuff has just not been picked up really broadly, right?
Yeah, I would agree. I mean, it is a super feature, but it's also very advanced. And, you know, when we're still in a phase where most people have no wallet, I think it's going to be an extreme power feature. But I mean, you know, many users are power users that have made the transition. So yeah, I don't know. It could compare to many other apps, I guess, like the really advanced features. You probably have, you know, 1% using them, but maybe they are really dedicated users and they set up things for the rest of their family, and who knows.
Yeah, I was also just I think on Friday reading it up a bit about passphrases and I mean that's exactly what happens on the Trezor when you can create a new wallet, or if you can add a passphrase which creates a new wallet, and then you have multiple wallets with multiple sets of addresses based on what you know when you want to split funds, but still use one device. But yeah, you have to really think through, because it multiplies the kind of the responsibility that you have, because you need to somewhere store all these passphrases, and it can open you up to more risk rather than reducing it.
Yeah,
Yeah,
forgetting stuff might get easier, but brute forcing gets harder.
yeah, I personally think passphrases are underutilized and not talked about enough. I think it's probably the best step to more security
Yeah.
after what we call single key wallets instead of going multi-sig. I think just adding a passphrase is a huge step, right? It's basically almost like a an extra, it's like a two-step verification thing.
Yeah.
Which not enough people use, but also almost no software wallets actually support. I think that's a big reason.
Yeah, I mean, the same goes for Shamir backups, which actually is kind of like multisig for your seed, which can greatly reduce kind of the risk of, because you don't have to store one seed somewhere, and if somebody gets it, you're done. So these kinds of things are not used as much.
Yeah, Shamir, from my understanding, is not recommended because the problem is you need to bring the parts of the key together in one place to sign, and that in itself then poses a risk. Like, let's say you have a PSBT and you have to sign it with different keys. The keys never have to be in the same place, but with Shamir they do.
Yeah, we looked at it a bit way back in the beginning of the guide, and I think we ended up deciding that we were not gonna really recommend it much. Not because it can't be good, but it felt like there were other things that provided the same benefits without some of the drawbacks.
Hexa Wallet V1 was Shamir based, and then they moved away from it.
Yeah, and then they moved away from it as well, I think.
Yeah.
Because, not to go in too deep, but I think one reason was that basically, okay, now you don't have one. I've lost all these words from these private key discussions, but like basically instead of having one, what's it called? I lost the word. Well, you have one
Share.
thing. Yeah, but you have one risk, right? Like the one seed phrase is the risky thing. But then when you split it up, suddenly like you need to apply the same risk to every piece, because if you lose one piece, you're lost, right? It doesn't matter if you have 4 of the 5 pieces left, you're still lost everything. So like you basically you're multiplying your risk of losing it yourself. You're definitely being safer in terms of other people discovering it, but like you're multiplying your own risk basically.
So my understanding was that you can have you have a 2 of 3 Shamir or a 3 of 5, which means you can in a 3 of 5 you can lose, just like in multisig, you can lose 2 fragments and still recover. But maybe it's
that might work if you still have the wallet and somehow need to re-authenticate. But if you're recovering on a new device on a new wallet, that doesn't work. You need all the pieces to the seed phrase.
Okay. Well, yeah, I'll check. I'll have the most qualified people to explain it to me here technically.
Yeah, maybe
but
we'll get
I
something
thought you can
with
recover only with the threshold as well. But maybe I'm wrong.
That might be if you have designed some kind of script wallet, I guess. I don't know. I sort of stopped looking into it 2 years ago, but should be some information in the guide somewhere.
I used ChatGPT last week to explain to me different, like I asked very specific questions. What are the benefits of this technique versus the other technique and this and that? I heard this term MPC, or multi-party computation, that again it's used in Ethereum land apparently also to that. It's basically like multi-key, but it's not just a key. You can calculate different parts of something and then bring it together without revealing what you actually used to like, you can prove that it's accurate, but you don't really know what went into it. So ChatGPT is pretty good for explaining this type of stuff. I just assume it's accurate, right?
Yeah.
And then a bit more
Frost,
research to actually verify it's accurate.
yeah. Frost is one of these techniques, right, of MPC, because you basically have different shares and then you create different kind of keys based on, yeah. I thought that was kind of one example for MPC.
Ah, I did not know that. I'll have to look into that too. But yeah, we also need to look into Frost. That would be
We can
interesting.
also ask ChatGPT if there's a use case for that sort of multi-wallet screen that you designed.
Yeah.
We can see what it says based on its information.
Oh, and hallucination. Um, okay, cool. So I'm gonna try to continue this one and come up with something that seems worthwhile. Okay, what's next? Yeah, I don't know. What else do we have going on here? Hold on, I'm in the wrong place now.
Well, I still have a long outstanding PR for adding a bit of information about the code resources around the Bitcoin UI kit. I'll update that and see if we can move it forward.
Yeah, I think that's a good one. I mean, it's when in the middle of working on all of this stuff, it's kind of easy to forget how it looks like, what it looks like, if it's discoverable to the random person stopping by or new people coming in or people not so closely familiar with the project. But that is pretty helpful to do, to just kind of keep revising and updating and keeping things fresh and linked. Then I guess ETA Wallet. I guess we can go to sister projects, which includes research kit, UI kit, icons, ETA, BDG, and Bitcoin UI. Research kit, we already talked about it a little bit. Mo, are you still actively, is there like some active work on the kit itself happening right now?
Yeah, I actually thought about that today before the call, and I have in my notes in Notion sort of. I've been using the kit now pretty actively in a few projects. I used it in Geyser Fund. I said it correct. I used it in Geyser Fund. I've used it in Bitcoin Core. I'm using it in the Jam UI as well. And I've definitely noticed some points that can be improved because some parts, particularly the which is it called? The jobs to be done, which we've used in multiple projects now, really rapidly needs to be improved because it's not being directly usable with what we have. So there's, have it in my head. It's definitely something that I would like to work on. Haven't actively worked on the kit in the last 3 months, honestly. But yeah, definitely need to spend some time each week dedicated to improving it because it's oh no, and also the desktop version is pretty okay right now, but the mobile version is just not optimized. I mean, I built that website on my own, so yeah.
Or reach out if you'd like any help with that.
Yeah, I'll definitely
tweaks.
put it on my to-dos is the linking out of the kit and also updating for sure the jobs to be done section definitely needs an update. Yeah.
But it seems like you're part of that cycle. The first part is you do the research, you figure out what it's going to be, then you put it together, then you launch it, and then you apply it, and then you have new learnings.
Yeah.
And then you probably come back to it and add new content, remove some, update some, and you're kind of in the application testing, using.
Yeah. I'm actually testing out the kit now, and I think after we do the jam sprint, I can be fairly honest and say I've tested it out on 3 projects, and then use that and go in and see, like, with all 3 projects, what extra resources needed to be created to work through the research, and how can we put those back into the kit. So yeah, there's definitely lots of stuff that can be added. So yeah, I've literally just parked it for the last 3 months because I literally just had my plate too full. But yeah, it's gonna be worked on. Yeah, for sure.
Awesome. Yeah. Cool. Then we have the UI kit, which is a little bit sleepy again after all the hubbub. Then we have icons, for which I realized we have 9 icon requests on GitHub. So I bundled those into a milestone, and I'll start putting those together. Some of them are already designed. Some people said like, "Hey, I designed this icon. Please add it." So I don't think it should be too much work. But it's been a long time since there was an icon set release, so there will be about new icons and maybe a few fixes to a few of them. So I'll try to kick that one off. And then we have Etta. So we had this call with Etta, and Colin put together a document about kind of how he sees the project, background, future, what he'd like to happen, more community involvement. It'd be a really functional implementation of the daily spending wallet. And so I think altogether we kind of have to figure out how this, like what the future should be. Because he does it solo, and it's not really sustainable. But if we find a handful of people, more people adopt it into their households, then it can be something really cool. Bitcoin UI. Daniel, do you know what Matthew is doing with Bitcoin UI, and do you have anything on the BDG? And I think the names are now wrong, right?
Yeah. We aligned in terms of the code libraries. We aligned on calling them Bitcoin UI, and then on each platform, adding the platform name. So, for example, my GitHub repo is Bitcoin UI dash Flutter, and I think the others are doing the same. The reason we're not calling it Kit is because on iOS, the native kind of UI components are already called UI Kit, so it's a bit confusing if you use UI Kit on that. So we just set for Bitcoin UI. In terms of what he's up to with it, I'm not completely sure, but he has been working on an LDK node wallet, I believe, called Monday. The working project has been called Monday, and sort of another reference thing in Swift. Yeah, in terms of my work on BDG wallet, it's been pretty dormant in the last month or so, so I need to pick that up now again. But the React Native version is the one that Mukundu has been working on, but I think he's also been more focused on the actual wallet than the UI kit package lately. So he's yet to update the name and stuff. But yeah, some progress.
Yeah, you've also been busy with other things to be revealed
Yeah.
soon. And then, yeah, but everyone else, like Colin, would be really excited for testing the app, giving feedback, helping improve it in any way. He'd be excited to have more people chip in one way or another. Okay, cool. That's all I have on my list. We got some feedback in the Discord today by someone who has a bit of sharp feedback. I'll just copy paste it into. And I don't know if that's a big discussion point or something to just think about. Can you see that? Maybe it's in the notes.
Yep.
So the idea, the critique is that it is too much focused on mobile, too much for mobile first wallets, financial use cases. There should be, and if you port that over to all kinds of other Bitcoin related applications, then you don't really end up with good applications, because you're like applying something that's meant for one thing to something else that's not really, it's not a good fit. And I think that criticism specifically came to the Bitcoin Core app, and his vision is that it's more about node management. Yeah, so I don't know. I mean, I think I don't know. I see like 3 different parts in this one, but I think it's good stuff to think about. Is the guide too focused on one thing? What other content should be in there? Should we broaden in one way or another? Do we have resources to do so? Time? I don't know, all kinds of stuff. I'd be kind of curious to hear what everyone thinks.
I would. So, excuse me for being the research in the room. I would do the research focused approach. So, I don't know how many months we have Discord now, but yeah, I would look at things very factually, and I would go in Discord because that's why we moved to Discord because all of the conversations are saved. And I would very factually go through questions that have been asked in Discord and actually see if there's a fair amount of questions asked about a particular topic. And if that comes up a few times and there's, by Eddie, and if there's a trend in a set of questions being asked about a particular topic, if it's not covered in the guide, then it would be a good idea to look at it be covered in the guide. So that's my 2 cents.
Yeah, I just read the feedback and I'm not quite sure what, if we were to produce something new or different or change something, I'm not quite sure what that would be other than a new section or a different focus on the guide that is not meant for end users. Perhaps is more like these advanced management apps, which maybe, but I mean there are a lot of people that want to build those, but I'm not sure if the effort of creating sort of standardized resources for them now is worth it. That's just my personal opinion. I mean, everybody can be focused on different things, but personally, I'm more interested in pushing adoption with end users. Valid feedback, I guess, but okay. Yeah, what does he want us to do?
Yeah, it implies that, I mean, to add different, let's say, sections about, for instance, I don't know, node management or lightning liquidity management, these kind of things. I mean, they are very, very specialized, and you almost need specialists to work on these or to put these together. And it's the topics that we cover now are more kind of generalist topics that you can cover for most people. So it's a fair, or it's a valid critique, but then again, if you would have to do something about it in a bigger way, it means you basically get into a very different, probably also size of a target of an audience, and a different audience. So, but it's still worth thinking about it. But
Also to play devil's advocate as well, we do have these node, management projects which have popped in and out of the community. Blockstream popped in and they did some user personas which they've shared, they've made public, so we have that. I also personally worked on a research sprint with, I forget the name of the project. There's also a node management platform. Stephen, Delorme, he worked on the guide. He now works on node management only. So they've definitely popped in and out of the community. So I don't know.
Yeah, at the Designathon last year, we had, what is it called? LNRQ. I forgot what it was called. And then we had Torque show up for a little bit. I would have hoped unfortunately, the Designathon projects didn't continue. I think that could have been some cool material there for the guide to come out of it.
Completely forgot about that. LNDG as well.
LNDG, that's what it was. Yes.
Yeah, there we go. So actually, we've had user personas from Blockstream. We've had LNDG, which we did the whole research sprint with. I did another, so I've actually done 2 research sprints on node management stuff. It's like I just can't even remember. And then I've also, and then there's also LNDG, which is with the designathon. And then there's the blog stream. So there's actually like 4 different times that's come up. Yeah, that's true.
And I do
I
think
mean,
with go ahead.
I'm reading the last sentence, which I guess is a request, so like dramatically expanded to consider Bitcoin beyond the tunnel vision of wallets and payments. I mean, wallets and payments is probably 95% of the use case, right? I don't quite see beyond, but then it's also a little bit contradictory. And there's a thing I definitely disagree with, I think, which says, node management should be more like resource usage and expressions of self-sovereignty and node management, which are critically important in the operating context of a node on a low resource device like mobile. Yeah, that's exactly the point. I mean, people should not have to think about resource management, right? In my opinion. If you want people to tinker with that, then you're definitely in the kind of 1% to 5% of users that we want to reach. So yeah, acknowledge this, but like I wouldn't be too worried.
No, I just brought it up
Yeah.
because it is good to. Oh, Yashash, go ahead.
Yes. Sorry. I think like five minutes back, I zoned out for a bit, and I missed the part where you, I think, talked about if this comment is about the Bitcoin design guide or the Bitcoin core app. I think it's
It's
about the
both.
Bitcoin. The sorry.
It touches both. Kind of, it starts and ends a little
Ye-
bit more with the guide, but in the middle there's a good amount about the core app, and I think that is
Yeah.
because this person came kind of through the core app UX research.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. So I think there are some pretty good points I think in this, but and I also disagree with a couple of things. Maybe I feel like this is something that has definitely happened to me. Is that I see like something that I'm very much against for some reason, and then I start writing about it, and it turns into like a rant, and by the time the rant ends, I am somewhere else mentally. And so it is very possible that, like, like, while this person was saying all this, he, like, like, changed in terms of like what he was thinking. And so, like, take it like what it is. It's like a rant. It's not, I don't see this as like something being very coherent and very targeted feedback. But I think, like, one thing we could take definitely from this, I feel like, would it be like a good idea to have a section in the guide saying who is this guide for and how can you use this guide? And we could say that this guide is, like, geared towards increasing adoption and things like that. But if you are, for example, like a developer oriented tool, if you are like making a developer oriented tool, then like maybe disregard some of the usability related stuff. Maybe that's like a takeaway from this as well. I don't know if this helps, but just my thoughts.
That's true. Like any best practices, for one thing, applied to something else are not necessarily going to work. So you always have to know that
Yeah,
you're
yeah.
you're using the right tool for the right job. We only have a couple minutes left here, but I think one interesting point to me here is you end up with lowering the bar rather than raising it in the name of accessibility. And I've seen that bunch of times before, and that is I mean, it's sometimes people say like, oh, it's just dumbing down. The idea that making something easy to use by necessity and is opposing to being powerful, being able to do a lot of things with it. You can customize it however they want. That you give up principles if you make something more accessible and usable. And I just don't think that's the case. I think you can make things easy to use and powerful without giving up any of your principles, and still allowing people to make good decisions about how they want to use it in just the right way, and allow them to dig in and personalize things and customize things. It's just that you're layering them. You're not showing everything at once. You're showing people like, hey, do you want to do this or that? And then you allow them, well, if you don't want these two options that work for almost everyone, we're also going to allow you to go over here and change everything that you want. Right? You kind of you layer these things in a linear experience. So yeah, I think that's kind of I've seen that come up many times over the years, this kind of idea that these things oppose. And I oppose that idea. But it's a tricky one to get right in US.
And it's I mean, ultimately in the responsibility of each product team to decide on this, because I mean the guide is, let's say, a reference document and not a specific one. I mean, you still need to, as a product team, you still need to think about who the user is, and if your user base is, or you assume it's that type of person that needs or wants this configurability, then yeah, you have to do that yourself. I mean, in terms of a critique of the design direction of the Bitcoin Core app, that that
So
would
I
be
just
us.
Sorry, I checked through my messages now, and that community that we interviewed about Bitcoin Core, I hadn't been looking. I just was catching up on my Discord messages, and I've now just seen some messages, and they'll be joining us on our next Bitcoin Core call because they're not happy with the direction. So, but yeah, I'll share those messages with the two of you. That's about the node management stuff and everything. But
That'll be a good discussion. I'm excited
very
for
good
it.
discussion.
And in the end, if you look at the core app, version 1 was all about the node in a very simple version, like the most basic thing, because there was like all this technical stuff to set up. Version 2 will be about wallets, also kind of the most basic version that will then allow the application to reach parity with the current GUI QML. And then afterwards, we can go back and we can add all the complexities. We can add like mini script and other stuff, and we can expand on the node management, like add those little widgets and add more options and all of this stuff. So I think if someone looks at the Bitcoin Core app design right now, they're like, you don't care enough about the node in this, which, yes, because we're not there yet. So it'll be a good conversation. I'm excited.
It's great that they're so happy to keep on providing that feedback and that guidance. They're going to be the best people. Yeah, not there's different types of groups that we're going to test on, but they'd be the best for testing out the node side of things. It's going to be really good with their feedback. So yeah, we'll see.
Awesome. Okay, we're a little bit over an hour. Are we all good? Anything else you'd like to chat about, or are we just all excited for Thursday now?
What's
is it Wednesday? Wednesday, is it right?
Oh yeah, very excited for Wednesday.
Yeah, but I'm excited for Thursday as well, because Thursday is a national holiday here, so I'll be out on Thursday.
You can recover from the Wednesday call.
Exactly.
Absolutely.
Yeah, exactly.
Okay, so thanks all for tuning in. I'm going to stop the recording, and we might chit chat afterward this or not. Anyways, thanks for tuning in.
Yes.
Bye, everybody.